It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast, Hacksaw's Headlines. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host from left field with his opinions, the venerable John Riley, and we welcome you to our Thursday podcast. This podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations to serve you. You got projects, they've got materials. You want ideas, they can be your best friend, your consultant. And don't forget, Christmas gift cards. What a great stocking stuffer at DIXIELINE. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer. John Riley, what a busy 48 hours since I saw you on Monday. Holy cow, the sports world is upside down. It is baseball, it is football, it is college football, it's the NBA, it's the NHL. We had a ton of topics to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, the bell has been dinging with all these signings and trades and everything else. So let's break it all down.
Program note, we do sports talk the way it should be done. John and I put a lot of topics on the table. John and I express opinions. And when we're done, we open it up to you. We have this thing called Fans Forum. At the end of this podcast, we go to you and you tell us what you think, asking questions, making statements, taking shots, if you will. John, for everybody that watches us on live stream, how can they get involved when we're on in Fans Forum?
Well, those guys are getting involved now. I see Carlos and Flash Bainey up there on the board. Hey, if you got a question or comment in the world of sports for Hacksaw, maybe even for me, just drop your hot take in the live chat on X, on YouTube, and on Facebook, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
Fans Forum, right at the end of the podcast. We roll through a lot of topics, trying to give you as much time as we can, so get ready to get involved. John, we got all things baseball because this is a baseball-centric show. We do sports talk the way it should be done. Let's talk about the aftermath of the winter baseball meetings.
Yeah, so many crazy rumors going on right now with the Padres.
Let's just talk about where the Padres are right now. They are bleeding pitching, and that's a big issue, and they've yet to make a transaction. But that being said, in all honesty, A.J. Preller said, I went to these winter meetings to gather information, to talk to every other general manager in Major League Baseball to find out where they are, what the price tag would be to acquire players, price tag would be to sign free agents. At this point, the Padres are bleeding pitching because all their guys are leaving. They've yet to make any significant transactions, but does not mean that they can't. The burning question, this whole Nick Pivetta situation. You're going to play devil's advocate with me. I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
He's the ace of your staff. He's got 2 more years on his contract, a big money year this coming season, and then he can opt out. That's the feeling is he's got 1 more year here, and then he's going to opt out and go back into the marketplace. The Padres of the assessment, hey, we can get a lot for this guy probably. But see, I don't buy that theory because anybody who trades for Nick Pivetta is trading for the contract, which means they get Pivetta for 1 year and he opts out. So the bargaining chips the Padres would get, I don't think it'd be as valuable as keeping Pivetta on the roster and trying to keep yourself in a baseball pennant race. You buy my theory, or do you have a different spin on the ace of the staff, Pivetta? How much trouble are they in if they move him?
Well, to your point, I mean, they need to keep the guy. And you said they're bleeding pitching, and they got to keep their number one. But it's not as grim as you think. Is when other teams take him, let's say hypothetically they would consider him, you're going to get him for a year. You've got, he has the option to continue for 2 more years, but it's 19 mil this year, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And if he has an off season, then he's probably not going to opt out. And so whoever gets him, there's a chance they could have him for multiple years.
The Cubs are interested. Now I find this absurd. I don't know what the Cubs have got pitching-wise, but if Pivetta is moved, Padres have to get pitching back. I don't see that the Cubs have pitching. Padres also need outfield first base help. One of the guys mentioned is Owen Cassey. That was a Padre draft pick that Preller traded away, like he's traded away so many other draft picks away.
He was in the Darvish deal, I think.
Yes. So at the end of the day, I don't want to see him move Pivetta. I want to see him build around Pivetta. They have completely stopped the conversation about Tatis. The rumors in the hallways in Orlando were just crazy. Atlanta is making a move on Tatis. The Yankees were talking about Tatis. AJ Preller said, somebody called, I pick up the phone, but the guy's untouchable. He is going to be here. They need help in so many areas. Would you dare move Tatis, no trade clause included?
He needs to do something big, I think, to get quantity and quality back in return. And it's got to be a one for many kind of a deal. You would hate for it to be Tatis. But it makes me interested in thinking, Tatis has been down in the dumps mentally. He's not the same guy. He could use a reset button somewhere else, especially if part of the deal was to renegotiate the contract, because he needs money these days.
Jake Cronenworth is being shopped. He could probably bring you an back end of the rotation starting pitcher. Now, the Padres are talking to everybody. Through the baseball sources I have, they're talking to the White Sox about young, struggling outfielder Luis Robert. They're talking about Seattle's extra starting pitcher Luis Castillo, though he's got a fairly big price tag there. They've talked to the Pirates about Mitch Keller. They've talked to the Mets about left-handed pitcher David Peterson, who might be more affordable in some type of transaction for Cronenworth. They're talking to Miami. He's got 3 different starting pitchers, but Miami wants multiples of numbers if it's Alcantara or if it's Cabrera. And does a Cronenworth or Ryan Weathers trade really make you better? So those are some of the teams that they've talked about. I do like Castillo, but that's a veteran pitcher. Pricey last 2 years of his contract, but that's the kind of guy that AJ has brought in. Give me a guy for a year or two. Like I say, they're bleeding pitching. They got to find a way to get some established arms. I don't know that Ryan Weathers is a difference maker. Some of the other Miami guys might be. What do you think they do?
By the way, Luis Castillo, we had him for 15 minutes before he was sent back. They're going to have to make a deal. I can't imagine they're going to get much for Cronenworth. I saw in MLB trade rumors that Bergert and Kolek are being dealt. You're thinking we could use those guys right now. So they got to do something. And I don't know what the magic pill is here, but we're going to have to get rid of talent to get something back.
We're waiting for the final domino, the shoe to drop. Michael King, 7 offers. Evidently, the price tag's gone up. That's his agent asking for more. They're talking now 3 years, $60 million. Whereas before it had been 3 years, less than that. 7 different teams have made offers. The Tigers are the latest to dive in. The Mets have dived in. The Yankees are back in it because he came from there. They know him well. The Cubs are still on the periphery. But names are starting to come off the board. Michael King is still there. I get the sense. Now, I don't get the sense. I was told by some medical people that some people are alarmed at this neck-shoulder impingement thing that wiped out his season last year. And if you're going to go 3 years, big money for Michael King, and we've seen him at his best, but is there a risk because of who this is? And maybe that's why he's still out there right now, because I would have bet he would have gone very quickly in baseball free agency.
Well, who are the teams that are in on him? I mean, you say 7 teams.
Cubs, Detroit, Yankees, Mets. Was the Red Sox. I don't know if they're still in there, but those are some of the, quote, 7 that I was told.
Interesting. But, every pitcher has got like a medical report that comes along for a ride, all their problems. So I don't know if I'm going to make a gamble on a pitcher. He's a guy that could be terrific, and he showed glimpses of it last year.
But 3 years, big money with an injury.
Well, that's the going rate for this. I mean, the prices are through the roof, Lee.
Names out there. The most amazing aspect of the winter meetings, no conversation about the Japanese left-hander Amai. He's still out there. There's been no dialogue about face-to-face meetings we know of. Zoom meetings, yes, but not face-to-face meetings. I had been told the Padres were going to come back into him and try to come up with a creative 3-year deal, maybe 3 years, $33 million, and you go back into free agency when you turn 31. And maybe using that sales pitch, the fact that they're in the division, they could beat the Dodgers, he could pitch against Ohtani, which he said he wanted to. That would make a lot of sense. But at this point, there's been nothing on Imai publicly within this last week, which is kind of odd because he is here stateside.
Well, didn't you? Yeah, so I was going to say, didn't you say he flew here?
Yeah.
So he's in America, but he hasn't met face to face.
Not that we know of.
Interesting.
There have been Zoom meetings out of Los Angeles. He's a Boris client. So they're Zooming with people. Presumably they've Zoomed with the Padres too.
Okay.
Other names, Dustin May. If you're buying on the cheap, that's a Preller type guy. And what about the ex-Dodger left-hander, Julio Urias?
Uh-oh.
He's been reinstated. He's been throwing in Mexico and throws in Southern California. Not word, sentence one about him. Could you not get that acquisition done? You put him back into your rotation. They need established guys at 2 and 3 at least to pitch behind Pivetta if they keep Pivetta, and I hope they do keep Pivetta. Doesn't Dustin May or Urias or Imai make a hell of a lot of sense from a San Diego perspective?
Urias makes zero sense. We don't need a wife beater on this team.
Okay.
But I think if you go with the other two names, Imai and who was the other one?
Dustin May.
Dustin May, for sure. Those are guys that definitely AJ needs to be working.
Because I'm sitting here right now as we come out of the winter baseball meetings, and my rotation beyond Pivetta is Randy Vasquez, maybe Joe Musgrove, and we never know about guys coming off surgery. That first year back might not be Joe Musgrove pre-surgery. Estrada has been discussed as going back into the rotation, but he found his niche in the bullpen. David Morgan had been discussed, but they've kind of said, nah, he's going to be a long man in the bullpen. I don't know where the starting pitching is going to come from.
Kyle Hart, I mean, where are you going to go?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I mean, this is grim right now. I mean, AJ's has some work to do.
Exactly. So that's where we are. That's the latest from the Padres coming out of the meetings. We've thrown some names there at you. Boy, if they could get the Japanese right-hander, that would be huge. For a number 2 guy behind Pivetta, I would feel much better. But they got to convince him to take a lower price contract, a creatively financed deal.
Yeah, the San Diego discount.
Damn right.
Okay.
So, Padre fans forum chat box is open. We are a baseball-centric show. We try to give you as much data as we can. We go from that to Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, checkbook baseball, $405 million.
As of today, that's what their payroll is by virtue of the signing of Edwin Diaz of the New York Mets. I was surprised they chose Diaz over Robert Suarez, but Suarez turned around and promptly signed in Atlanta. Here's the most amazing thing. So Andrew Friedman is exiting Orlando yesterday to come back to the West Coast. And he's cornered by the media, and he's always good to talk to. He says, we don't have to apologize to anybody for winning the World Series. Our payroll is $405 million because we can afford to have that and write checks to that. We don't have to apologize. Our farm system has 7 of the top 100 players listed by Baseball America. Why should we have to apologize to that? Now, they do sign Diaz, 3 years, $69 million, chose him. They've reopened talks with Kyle Tucker, but they're only willing to go 3 years with Kyle Tucker. They're not even intrigued to go 5, and definitely not having any conversation about 10. They're also obviously talking to Cleveland again about Stephen Kwan, and now they've re-entered talks again with Boston for Jarren Duran. I don't know what's fact or fiction with the Cody Bellinger thing, but we've experienced this before. But obviously his name is kicked around there too. Interesting story, though. They have open trade talks with Kansas City, who wants Teoscar Hernandez, not to play right field at Royal Stadium, but to be their lifetime DH. And the Dodgers might be willing to move him, get a prospect or prospects, but Teo go to KC, and then they'd have to make some other moves to get some more outfielders in there. But it's amazing to me. Andrew Friedman comes out of the meetings. We don't have to apologize for anything of who we are and what we can do. It's just amazing.
Well, it's just the whole thing about how teams, it's sports, even outside of sports. If you're at the top of your game, everyone wants to tear you down, baby. And in this case, if you've got money, we want to tax it. If you've got assets, we want to take them away, or we want you to bend the knee and apologize because you just have too much stuff. This is the same societal thing, but the Dodgers definitely have nothing to apologize for. They are playing the game in the executive suite at a very high level. I give them props, but damn it, it's the Dodgers.
Okay, we go from Dodger fans. That invitation is open to you. Jump on board. Do you think your team should be apologizing for the way they're conducting their business? Dodger payroll is $405 million as of breakfast this morning, and they're not done adding to the World Series team. From that, we go to the Angels.
Yeah, buy low roster.
Yeah. So we have the Dodgers at 405 and the Angels that are buying every product they can on the Dollar General first aisle. Now, I happen to like this trade. I don't have an understanding what's happened to this player, but the Angels made a trade at the winter meetings to get second baseman, shortstop, third baseman Vaughn Grissom. Now, he was once a can't-miss prospect with the Atlanta Braves. He was the focal point when the Braves traded to get Chris Sale out of Boston. Grissom went to Boston, but he got hurt. Grissom has continued to put up really nice numbers in AAA baseball, but it's not equated to doing it at the major league level when he's had his cups of coffee. Red Sox gave up on him. They traded him to the Angels for a minor league outfielder. This kid can play second. This kid can play third. They get him for next to nothing for a lower AA minor league power hitting outfielder. If Grissom is a real deal, he solves their third base problem. But is Grissom a major league player, or is he what we call a 4A player who does really well in the Pacific Coast League or the International League, but can't hit major league pitching? The Angels have talked to Zach Gallen, but I don't think it's going to work, only because Gallen is marketing himself for 4 or 5 year contracts. I don't think the Angels want to go in that direction. So the Angels are still really thin on starting pitching. And please tell me who your closer is, because they've not moved on Kenley Jansen. And Ben Joyce is yet to recover from the surgery he had last season that knocked him out. And they're still struggling to try to find a way to use the $38 million that's owed Anthony Rendon. We had the confirmation last week. They went back to him and said, "You're going to retire? Defer your $38 million. Let us fix this club. You'll get your money. Give us a 5-year window, and then we'll start making your retirement payments on the final year." But he's not responded to that at that point in time. So they're an aisle $1 Dollar General, buying low. Poor Angel fan, especially since right across the county line are the Dodgers and their $405 million payroll.
Yeah, that's brutal. Even the Mets and Yankees are sort of competitive with each other, not here. But I give the Angels credit. At least they're pulling the trigger on some deals here. And they've been slowly filling in that starting rotation. I mean, they got more work to do. And by the way, is this Grissom kid any relation to, remember Marquise Grissom?
No.
No relation to him?
No relation. This was a high draft pick that seemed to have a can't-miss label, and then Atlanta used him as the big bargaining chip to get Chris Sale, who became a star. Sale had always been hurt in Boston and prior to that with the White Sox, and it's had nothing but success for the most part with Atlanta. Grissom was supposed to be that guy in Boston, and it didn't work out. Now he winds up with the Angels. That might be a nice deal if the kid is more than a 4A player. We don't know that.
It's worth rolling the dice.
Exactly. But end of the day, that's not much of a roster. And you're in the shadow of Dodger Stadium trying to sell baseball fans.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, Angel fans, your fans forum chat box is open. Jump on board. Let's just go around the baseball roadmap. Let's look at John's baseball scorecard.
There it is. Orioles at the top.
How about those birds? I think they overpaid, but they got Pete Alonso yesterday. 5 years, $155 million. Nobody had offered him 5. Everybody, including the Mets, said 3. Now, he's older. He's 31 plus. He is not great defensively. Coming off a good year at home plate, batting average, I think, 272. Guy's got like 240 plus home runs the course of his career. He's really what they need in Baltimore to round out what I think is a really good batting order, but it's a veteran presence batting order, so it's just not on Gunnar Henderson every pitch, every at-bat, every game of the season. So Alonso goes to Baltimore. They also got Ryan Helsley, who's going to be their closer. He came from St. Louis. And everybody's of the opinion they're going to make a deal to get a starting pitcher. might be Ranger Suarez of Philly, or it might be Framber Valdez of Houston, because I've met with both of them. So people of the opinion the Orioles are pushing all their chips to the center of the table right now, have had all these good kids, and now they're adding select veterans around them. Toronto fired the first shot in the winter meetings, getting the Padres' Dylan Cease. Then they outbid everybody to get the Korean right-hander Cody Ponce. I was a little bit surprised because they pushed hard to get Robert Suarez, but they did not get him. Suarez wound up going this morning to the Atlanta Braves. Yankees got a real problem. Holy cow. They've been shut out. They haven't done anything at the winter baseball meetings, and they're down 3 starters. They won't have Garrett Cole, Carlos Rondon, and one of their other starters. They're going to be out 3 starters when the season starts in April. Those guys missed chunks of this past season. Hot rumor, Yankees are talking to Milwaukee about Freddie Peralta, who the Brewers are not going to sign to an extension. He's very affordable this year. But geez, you're going to take a 17-7 guy out of Pat Murphy's rotation? That doesn't make sense to me. But the Yankees are pursuing Freddie Peralta, so maybe that's where their upgrade in the pitching staff is going to come from. Mets, damn, what a bad 12 hours. You lose Edwin Diaz, who they thought was re-signing, and then you lose the polar bear on top of that 12 hours later. And boy, the media and the Mets fans are not happy with the general manager, David Stearns, and not happy with the owner, Stephen Cohen, because last year was miserable. They signed Soto and didn't make the playoffs. And now they're 2 less stars on that roster. Philadelphia, they signed Schwarber, 5 years, $150, and they've made an offer to try to relink with Real Muto, the catcher. Schwarber was shopping himself everywhere. A lot of people have the opinion he was going home to Cincinnati or maybe even to Pittsburgh that made a late offer, but he's staying in Philadelphia. Red Sox, are they going to wind up with Mackenzie Gore? Because that's the rumor. And Boston is really deep in talent, including Jarren Duran. They've got young pitching. They've got a lot of young everyday players. They might have the most currency to use to get the Washington Nationals left-hander. Of course, Boston's already traded for Sonny Gray, the ex-Cardinal and Twin, and traded for young Pirate prospect Johan Oviedo. So there's another deal coming in Boston. Might it be Mackenzie Gore? I don't quite understand this whole Detroit story, and I don't subscribe to the Milwaukee story. Detroit is taking offers on Tariq Skubal. I mean, you're telling everybody that you're a pennant contender in the American League Central, and you're going to win this thing, and you're going to go deep in the playoffs, and you're shopping your ace. Now, granted, he's going to be a free agent in a year, but while you're shopping your ace, why don't you just sign the guy? And Milwaukee, which has always operated on a limited payroll, Milwaukee's willing to trade Peralta, which, again, like I said, that's a 17-7 starting pitcher. So, John, that's the baseball scorecard coming out of the meetings. You want to talk about any of those teams? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for you about the Mets, because I saw this rumor floating about, this rumors are everywhere. But is there any truth to this fact that on the Mets, Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto apparently are having a feud?
Carlos Mendoza absolutely denies it, but Met players say, yeah, there was friction.
So then the next step is that maybe the Mets would be willing to deal Lindor. And then there's been rumors of Lindor coming to San Diego in exchange for, I think, Bogarts and Mason Miller. I don't have any idea if that's legit.
I think that's far-fetched. Why would you trade Lindor? He's a hell of a player, and he's kind of your leader. Why would you trade him? But hey, New York, congratulations. You got Soto. Look at what you got.
Told you so.
Yeah, damn right. You're invoking my phrase.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. No, I don't think there's any validity to that at all. Because what the hell the Padres got to trade that's going to net them Lindor? I mean, Bogarts is old, bloated contract, good guy, but there's not a lot of long-term down road with Xander Bogaerts. I think that rumor is far-fetched. Okay, Fans Forum chat box is open. You want to talk about some of the other baseball storylines? It's a baseball-centric talk show. We do cover the National Football League too. John, we're switching sports. Let's move over.
Justin Herbert, the Warrior, on Monday Night Football.
Boy, have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, that was a hell of a game against the Eagles on Monday night. Those two defenses going after both those quarterbacks, and Herbert survived, and Jalen Hurts self-destructed. But the longer I watched him play with the cast on his left hand, I knew he was in pain, and yet he just did not back down from the challenge. And then you saw him run 4 times in the second half for first downs on scramble plays. Word that came to mind, great headline, Warrior. I see him, and I see the reincarnation of Dan Fouts. You could not get Fouts off the field during the heyday of Charger football. He might be bloodied, he might be battered, he's taking hits, and he's making plays, and that's what this kid is doing. And in terms of Philadelphia, what a freaking disaster. I mean, Nick Sirianni's lost control of the team. I don't think the play calling is very good. I think he needs to take over play calling, take it away from his offensive coordinator. He is catching so much heat. It's unbelievable there in Philadelphia. They've lost 3 in a row, and they're not home free. They've got a lot of tough games still to be played. And Jalen Hurts just got spooked. He was throwing balls into coverage. You should never throw balls, but they couldn't protect him. And what you do is you roll the pocket out. Don't make him stand in the pocket with all these people in his face trying to dodge bullets. Move him around the pocket and create. But he was overthrowing guys. He was throwing into double and triple coverage. He was throwing balls that were tipped. A.J. Brown gave up on a couple of plays that wound up being a negative play. But Philadelphia is just an absolute mess. Those defensive fronts, though, for the Bolts and for the Eagles, that was some Monday night game. Chargers go to Kansas City. And this is kind of a desperation game for both teams. The Chargers have to win because their last 4 games are Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, at Denver. I mean, this is a tough haul for an injured quarterback like Justin Herbert to make. And from Kansas City's standpoint, they're 6-7. And Mahomes is putting up phenomenal individual numbers. But chief football right now is about drop passes by everybody, receivers and Travis Kelce, and tons of penalties in the offensive line. They are down 5 linemen with injuries and a ton of penalties on the back end defensive. Their back 7, clutch and grab and pass interference, defensive holds. Kansas City's in big trouble, but this game is at Arrowhead Stadium, and it's really desperation for both these teams. So, John, do you want to talk about the Warrior? You want to talk about the game with the Eagles? Or you want to talk about what's going to happen at Arrowhead? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert is like a gladiator hero.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the guy is just built different than a lot of other athletes. And I'd imagine standing next to that guy, it's like literally being next to a statue of someone that is strong.
He's a tight end.
Yes, exactly. And so it was after the game. I can't remember if it was Derwin James or the Jefferson kid that made the final interception. The interviewer asked the player, you know, what's your thought on Justin Herbert? And they said, that is the toughest, strongest quarterback that exists. And we're happy to have him on our team. So huge praise.
6'6", 240. He's a tight end playing quarterback who can run.
Yeah, he's crazy. I mean, it's like one of those Transformers, you know, just all these superpowers.
Yeah, he's just absolutely amazing. But you would agree with me, desperation time for both the Bolts and the Chiefs?
Well, certainly for the Chiefs. I mean, they're hanging by a thread, so they're going to be still fighting for their life. This will still be a tough game because the Chiefs still have it in them. But the Bolts, you know, I pictured that they were going to slide at the very end of these last 5 games, but they won the first of the 5. There's 4 more to go on the gauntlet.
I agree. Okay, you got a comment. You're a Charger fan. Feel free. Jonas, Fans Forum chat box is available for you. Before we get to halftime, John, boy, there's some really must-win games on the Sunday schedule this weekend.
Yeah, you gave me so many helmets, I had to split them into 2 slides, Lee.
Okay, let's start with Buffalo, New England. Massive game in Foxborough. This is a Bills team that's lost its last 3 on the road. They lost to Atlanta, they lost to Miami, and then they got battered by Houston. But yet it's a Buffalo team that's averaging 383 yards per game on offense. Josh Allen's got 3,500 all-purpose yards, throw and run. He's got 34 touchdowns. Josh Allen's averaging almost 6 yards per run every time he scampers. So Buffalo's offense is hitting on all cylinders, but it's their defense. New England, they've won 10 in a row. They're 11-2 on the season. Now, do you want me to say this and offend everybody from the 617 area code? Who the hell they played? I want you to look at their schedule. They played all the downtrodden teams in the NFL. There's 8 teams with lousy records that New England has played this season, but can't take anything away from Drake May. Drake May is what Josh Allen is to Buffalo. Drake May's got 3,400 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Second-year quarterback's got a QB rating of 111. Now, he's taken 40 sacks, but Vrabel really has these guys cooking. So Buffalo, New England, Josh Allen, Drake May, that's going to be a good game. And I'm not taking a lot away from New England being 11-2, but their schedule has been kind of ragtag. Second game, we got Green Bay, we got Denver. Now, this game is in the Mile High City. Green Bay's got 3 of its final 4 on the road, John. This is the big challenge for Jordan Love. Now, he's got 22 touchdowns. He's got 4 interceptions. You know this late in the season, Green Bay's turned the ball over only 8 times. I mean, that's pretty efficient football. They're hitting on 50% of the third down plays. So Jordan Love is a star in the making, and he's done a really good job. But they're going into Denver. Denver's won 10 in a row. Denver's defense has only given up 282 yards per game. Orange Crush has got 55 sacks, 30% conversion rate on third down. Their defense is just phenomenal. They're playing their 14th game of the season. Denver's defense has given up only 22 touchdowns in 13 weeks so far. And Bo Nix is Bo Nix. He's got almost 3,200 all-purpose yards. He's kind of playing mistake-free football. So Green Bay's accomplished a lot. But going into Denver against that team with 55 sacks, yikes, that's going to be a challenge. A big NFC game. Detroit Lions, who are not the Detroit Lions that we've known, they go play the Rams here at SoFi Stadium. Detroit is only 4-4 in the last 8 weeks of the season, and Dan Campbell's crew has to play 3 of the final 4 away starting Sunday against the Rams. Jared Goff's in grudge mode. He's still pissed off that the Rams gave up on him. But he's thrown for over 3,300 yards. They're averaging 378 yards per game. Their defense is not what the defense used to be in Detroit. But this is a massive challenge. I mean, they're playing 500 football right now of late. And now they got to go face the Rams. And how about the Rams have won 7 of 8? Matthew Stafford over 3,300 yards. His ledger is 35 touchdowns, 4 picks from a 37-year-old quarterback.
That's crazy.
It is. His quarterback rating is 113, and he's got Puka, who's got 93 catches. Devontae Adams has got 58 catches. And the Rams' old guy offense is averaging 373 yards per game. How impressive is that? So you want to comment on the first 3? The kid quarterback versus Josh Allen, Jordan Love against the Orange Crush, and all things Stafford, Goff, Lions, Rams, Sean McVay, Dan Campbell.
Yeah, well, let's start with the kid quarterback in New England, because you're saying that who have you beat? And I looked it up. This is interesting. In week 1, the Raiders beat the Patriots. That's shocking looking back at that. Then the Patriots beat the Dolphins and lost to the Steelers. And then they beat the Panthers, and they beat the Bills, the Saints, the Titans, the Browns, the Falcons, the Buccaneers, the Jets, and the Bengals.
I told you so.
And the Giants.
Yeah. I told you so.
Yeah, so yeah, they haven't played anybody. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Okay, and I'm really I'm happy that Denver is doing well. You know, because especially Kansas City's been so darn dominant in the AFC West. It's nice to see new blood, and I just love how Denver's kind of really going. They're leaning in on those old orange uniforms a lot more. So I'm happy. I hope they make a good run there against Green Bay, and yeah, the Lions and Rams. It's going to be terrific.
Yeah, just amazing. And the Lions are not with the Lions. I'm not going to say that the expiration dates arrived on Detroit, but Detroit's just not the same team that it's been the last 4 or 5 years since Dan Campbell showed up in the Motor City. And this Rams team is just rolling.
Just rolling. I mean, they're just loaded. I mean, so that deal, you thought it was a weird deal when like Goff was almost like a throw-in, but then he ended up turning into this great quarterback, but now he seems to have regressed. But I just think they just don't have the personnel that they used to, right?
Yeah. They have the same personnel, but maybe they had injuries recently, but it's just not the same team. And the Rams are just, I use the term, you're playing with their hair on fire. You watch them play, it's just fabulous.
Oh, yeah, they're on a different level.
Yeah. Okay, that's the first group of games. Let's move to the second group of games.
Yeah, here we go. Colts-Seahawks.
Phillip Rivers? Really?
This is great. It's a great story.
There's a story behind the story. This is
Okay.
what I was told. Anyhow, when Daniel Jones first got hurt early in the season, he got dinged up. They called Shane Steichen, the coach of the Colts, who's a coordinator here in San Diego with Rivers, called Rivers in Alabama and said, might you have any interest in being a pinch hitter and playing if we need you? And Rivers said, I'd think about it. So Steichen left it with him. You do your physical training just to stay in shape.
Yeah.
So Rivers, who's a high school coach, very successful, has worked on his own 2 or 3 times a week. Cardiovascular and all that, weights. So you say, well, he's been out of football since 2021. No, he's not. He's not played a game since 2021, but he's doing all the stuff you need from a physicality standpoint to stay in shape. And the intangible, he walks into the first meeting room on Monday morning. Here's the playbook. It's the exact playbook with almost the same terminology that Shane Steichen ran as the Chargers offensive coordinator with Rivers as his quarterback.
Oh, wow.
So he's not out of shape, and this is not a strange language. So when I say, Phillip Rivers, really? The intangibles behind the story tell the story as to why he may play in some utility role. Now, I think that they're going to start Riley Leonard, the Notre Dame kid, at Seattle. But that's hard, and Leonard has been hurt. What I don't understand, why wouldn't you play Brett Ripien, who started games in the NFL, different places he's been, let him try to manage the game, and if need be, you could always go to Rivers, rather than start Riley Leonard, who's hardly ever done it at all and is dinged up a little bit. So that's going to be interesting to see how Indy handles the situation. Colts are in trouble, though. They're going in the wrong direction. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They still have the heavy-duty Jonathan Taylor, and they're going to have to lean on Jonathan Taylor in this game against Seattle. And the Seahawks team's on a heater. Holy cow. They have won 7 of their last 8. Sam Darnold's got a quarterback rating of 103 at this point. Defense has only given up 288 yards per game. Defense got 41 quarterback sacks on the season. Now, Seattle's schedule, well, they get these guys at home. They get a battered Indy team at home. Then they got to play the Rams. Then they got to play at Carolina and play at San Francisco. So Seattle just needs to keep winning. It's kind of a big game. So that's the storyline there. The Browns play in Chicago, and the whole world is of the opinion, either we told you so, or you better give this guy a longer leash. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders. And Sanders he's put up some nice numbers. He's made big plays down the field. To me, he's taken way too many risks. He's putting balls in the coverage that so far he's completed, but he's not going to be able to do that on a Sunday-by-Sunday basis. And he's freelancing so much with no protection. He's going to get his ass kicked. He's going to get hurt. Anyhow, he is going to start. Now, everybody's excited about Shedeur, but the Browns just lost to a Tennessee team that was 1-11. And the Browns have lost 5 of their last 6. Shedeur's only completing 52% of his passes. Like I say, John, I've watched a bunch of video with him. Awful lot of freelance. My God, I don't think you can live this way in the National Football League. I'd hate to see them this season end up really crappy. They're wasting an unbelievable year. Myles Garrett this weekend will probably set the NFL single-season sack record. He's already got 20. They got 55 sacks on the season. The Bears, Caleb Williams, just playing really well. They're 8-4 on the season. Now, Green Bay, Chicago has to play Green Bay next week, Brock Purdy the following week, and close with Detroit. So their schedule is kind of rugged. But Caleb Williams is playing really, really well for Chicago at quarterback. So you got the Bears versus Shedeur Sanders. And then you got the Eagles. Boy, they pissed. And you got the Raiders. Boy, are they bad. Philadelphia has lost 3 in a row. Their offense with all those stars, the quarterback, the 2 wide receivers, the pass-catching tight end, and Saquon, they're only averaging 309 yards per game. I don't understand why Sirianni has not taken control of play calling. He's an offensive guy. Get this thing back in order. They look to be a shell of themselves. They've not protected Hurts. They got so many injuries in the offensive front. I think that's the rationale as to what's happened. And that was miserable to see 5 turnovers, see Jalen Hurts turn the ball over 5 times. And they got a couple prima donnas at wide receiver that I think are distractions there. So you got Philadelphia against the Raider Nation. Kenny Pickett will be your starting quarterback.
Hey,
I guess they're done with Geno Smith. Geno Smith is hurt, but they couldn't protect him. I don't know if they can protect Kenny Pickett better. Mooney's Pickett will probably try to make some plays down the field. Raiders have lost 7 in a row, 1-11 since October. Offense is averaging only 257 yards per game. Raiders have only 21 touchdowns in 13 games this season. They've allowed 50 sacks, and they're converting only 35% of the third downs. I mean, they're just bloody incompetent. So Kenny Pickett, your turn. Show us what you got, maybe for the final 3 weeks of the season. I don't know if Pete Carroll's going to step away at the end of the year. He's not a quitter, but God, they are just so void of talent at all. And by the way, their defense has given up 50 touchdowns this season. Well, as I said, scoring 21.
I ain't getting it done.
No, I don't think so. So, John, go ahead. You can respond to what you're seeing about Rivers, really?
Yeah, Grandpa Phil, coming out. This is good. It's a great storyline. Now, I saw one post on X of Cam Newton saying that it was a slap in the face. I mean, he wasn't serious, was he? I mean, could
I
he
have
come
2
back?
problems with Cam. A, the way he dresses, it's rather effeminate to me. And B, he's just yapping all the time. Well, Cam has been out of football 4+ years too.
Yeah.
And he didn't go out on a blaze of glory. Phil retired after making the playoffs with Indianapolis. But, Cam's a TV star, so he'll just say anything about anything while wearing his hat and his vest and whatever. Rivers had a hell of a career. Cam did some good things in Carolina in a short window, but there were so many injuries because he ran the ball so much and scrambled, and, that becomes fatal if you're a quarterback. Rivers has had a hell of a career. I'm stunned that Rivers could be a starting quarterback this weekend, but maybe as kind of a guy to help whoever is starting and give him a couple more weeks of practice. And if they can get into the playoffs, then maybe he becomes a starting quarterback in the playoffs.
Well, it's like you're saying, he fits like an old shoe, right? Yeah. So, but I just had a vision of Hacksaw in the Cam Newton outfit with the hat and everything. That's a bad visual. No. The other name that I heard people kind of chitter-chattering about online was Colin Kaepernick, and like, oh, well, he should have gone back instead of it. That guy, I mean,
he's been so far removed from life.
Yeah, I mean, is he even over 40 yet?
He's probably close, but he's doing, I'll say this about, the difference of Cam Newton and all the histrionics with him. Colin Kaepernick does charity work in the Bay Area, does stuff up in Reno. Mm-hmm. He's given back to the community. It's all private, is very different, but his approach to his post-football career is very different than the guy that wears the hat with the feather and the scarves. And but if you like that stuff, that's okay.
It just makes for interesting TV viewing.
You're going to wear that next podcast?
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Yeah, I'll kind of roll in with that outfit. The Browns, Cleveland, that could be a fun game. Browns and Bears, it could be a very fun game for both quarterbacks. Separate storylines. Can't expect that the Browns are going to win, but, it'll be fun, I think. And then, the Raiders are just a mess. When you say 21 touchdowns in 13 games.
And giving up 50.
That's ridiculous. That is just
incompetence.
So awful. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. So, but it's Raider Nation, man. They're there for their guys. They're sticking with their team through thick and thin.
They're there for the shield to get drunk and get high.
By the way, for Raider Nation, when George Blanda played in the NFL, how old was he when he retired?
Well, but George went to the AFL. He had already been in the NFL prior. He'd been with the Chicago Bears way back.
But he was on the Raider roster
at the end.
In the 70s, which was the NFL, and he was the third string quarterback and the kicker.
I think it was 46, maybe.
Yeah. So, Rivers is 44.
Yes.
Amazing.
But Steve DeBerg was 44 when he came out of retirement to help your 49ers. Blanda was a hell of a player, and because he was such a reliable field goal kicker. But in the early days of the early years of the American Football League, he was a stud because he could throw the crap out of the ball and then kick field goals and point afters and all that. And he was a firebrand. He was a leader. He was a really good football player for a chunk of time and at the tail end of his career, but he was still there doing some of it.
Well, there's a classic picture of him on the bench wearing the Raider uniform, Blanda, with a face that looks like a man that's in his mid-60s. Yep. You know, it's just people age different back then.
And a body that probably was in its 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was a hell of a quarterback. And for the old timers who like the old American Football League, he was one of the early icons of the old AFL. They brought guys in from everywhere. They had a quarterback that came from the Canadian League, quarterback the Denver Broncos. His name was Frank Tripucka. He was a Notre Dame guy, and he'd been in Canada. He was really good for a couple years. And of course, back then, nobody played defense. And the teams that had skill guys at wide receiver, like Al Davis's Raiders, they would beat you because he's Blanda and Tripucka just stand there and just all day, regardless, rain and snow, no problem. Just keep throwing.
This is funny. I just remember my older uncles or cousins saying, yeah, the Raiders, they have George Blanda because they knew all that history. And for me as a little kid, I was thinking, well, yeah, they got this really old guy that can play quarterback in a pinch. You know, I didn't realize all that history, you know. So anyways, Rivers, I'm thrilled for him. And I hope he gets in the game. I mean, imagine if he could rescue the Colts.
If he could drag them into the playoffs with all the adversity.
Yes. So I think that's a great storyline. I'm just thrilled for him. But you're saying he lives in Alabama now. He doesn't live here in San Diego.
No, he's a high school coach in Alabama. He went back to his hometown.
Good for him.
He's coached 4 years. He's done very, very well. His son, Gunnar, is a quarterback.
Oh, yeah. I think he's going to be – is he a high school recruit or is he going to be drafted? I
think he's going to college or maybe he's got another year to go.
Something like that.
But the intangibles of the fact that Shane Steichen, the Colts coach, who was a coordinator here in San Diego with Phillip, that he talked to him back in October. Are you interested if you think maybe we have a need, maybe do stuff in terms of cardiovascular? And Phillip has done it in October, November, and December. So he's in much better shape than anybody would realize. And he walks in, here's the playbook, and it's the exact same X's and O's and language, verbiage that they ran with the San Diego Chargers.
This is interesting because I assumed that they didn't reach out to him until Daniel Jones got hurt.
No,
but it was before that.
Rivers commented that they had a conversation back in October.
Well, maybe that was after Richardson got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they knew they might have a need, but now they really do.
Yeah, because they lost both of them now.
Yeah.
AR-15 can't play because he's yet to recover from the orbital bone, and that's where the first conversation took place, was after Anthony Richardson fractured the orbital bone, and he still can't practice.
That's weird.
So, and then now they lose Daniel Jones on top of it. So this bears watching to see what number 17 gets done. Hey, we are at halftime. We put a lot of topics on the table. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations to serve you. DIXIELINE, home for those who are do-it-yourselfers. I call it the tool factory. And DIXIELINE with the great DIXIELINE cards, Christmas stocking stuffers. John, doesn't matter what the project is, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, DIXIELINE's got something for you. You need to check it out.
Yeah, all these tools. I mean, these are easy things to buy for Christmas, right? You know, for dad that wants something kind of to upgrade his shop in the garage. DIXIELINE's got all the greatest power tools. They're always running smoking deals on all the top brands, Bosch, on DeWalt, on Milwaukee, any of the big brand names there for power tools. DIXIELINE's got you covered. So go check them out. Great place. Little interesting Christmas gift shopping. You can still do it there at DIXIELINE Lumber.
Go to DIXIELINE.com, see all the things they have to offer. We are at halftime on our Thursday podcast, going towards a great sports weekend. When we're done putting topics on the table, you take over this podcast. It's called Fans Forum. John, it's easy for those with us on live stream to jump on board, become part, explain how they do it.
It's funny. There's a new guy on here I've never seen before, and he's a Raider fan, and his name is Drunken Mick.
That fits.
So we will get to Drunken Mick and all of you that are piling in. Yeah, Fans Forum is your chance to hacksaw a question in the world of sports. If you have a question, just drop it in the live chat on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook. We'll get you involved.
And we want you to follow, want you to share, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays, 1:30. Want you to subscribe. When you subscribe on the YouTube channel, you will get the alerts every time we put additional videos up on the YouTube channel. We do that 7 times a week. So make sure you do that. Also want you to follow me on social media. I'm on X, on Twitter. Want you to be part of my Twitter All-Star team. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button. That way you'll be able to take part in all my mini polls. We want you to share, subscribe, and of course, there's just lots of ways to follow us. But you can really help us grow this thing, and this thing has exploded. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating. You won't believe how that helps us with the algorithms. So, John, lots of ways for people who enjoy what we do Mondays and Thursdays to help us grow this project and be part of the team.
Yeah, subscribe. I mean, that's another the great thing you can do. You're getting close to 10,000 on YouTube. So if we get some more subscribers, let's push Hacksaw over the top.
Or push them out the door if you wish. Okay, just a lot of different items here. We're at halftime. We go to the second half, and then we're going to go to the Fans Forum chat box. John, we got college football to talk about.
Yeah, the Heisman Trophy Award, and I know you get a vote on this.
Yeah, let's just pop this up. 4 finalists will be in New York. That's a really good field. This is a really balanced field. I can't tell you who's going to win. I can tell you I've probably changed my mind 3 times over the course of the college season. Let's talk about Jeremiah Love. That is a heavy-duty running back, almost 6 yards per carry at Notre Dame. Marked man and yet tremendously productive. Fernando Mendoza, 1-year starter at Indiana after having starred at Cal. This is a big-time player who just makes big plays. They know he's the focal point of the IU offense, and they try every type of defensive structure they can to get to him, and the kid is absolutely amazing. Mendoza, 3,000 yards passing, 71% completion rate, 33 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. And does he win games for you? Yes, some. He keeps you in games, though, because he keeps making plays. And, of course, Indiana's got a lot of talent around him. The third guy is obviously a kid that came out of nowhere. I'm talking about Diego Pavia. He's a kid that transferred into Vanderbilt, has bounced all over the place. He's from New Mexico.
Really?
Went JUCO, bounced around, had to sue to get an extra year of eligibility. Pavia, get this stat, 4,018 total yards, run and throw, 36 touchdowns, led Vanderbilt to 10 wins this season. Vanderbilt has never, ever had good football in decades. Diego Pavia, the difference this season. And the last one is the redshirt freshman who's from here, from Carlsbad, Jalen Sayin. His stats are really impressive for being as young as he is. 3,300 plus yards, 31 touchdowns, 78% completion rate. And like I said, I have my ballot. I can't tell you who I voted for, but I changed my mind multiple times. I had so many different names that are in and out of the mix from early September into the 1st of November. Now into December, it changed again. But those are the 4 finalists that are going. This is really going to be balanced. So, John, if I gave you my ballot, who would you choose?
I got to go with Mendoza on this. You know, I mean, he's just had just a great season. And it's not just that he's led Indiana to be the #1 team in the country, but it's Indiana. I mean, it's Indiana. The crazy part is, look at 2 of the Heisman finalists are from Indiana and Vanderbilt. That doesn't compute in the world of college football.
Indiana had not won a Big Ten title since 1945. Think about that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know, Julian Sand has had a really nice year. You could make an argument for him as well. I think those are got to be the 2 finalists. If I'm betting on who you voted for, I bet you probably picked Mendoza or Sand.
I can't comment on it. That's one of the rules of the road.
I understand.
But I'll tell you what Pavia has done at Vanderbilt is absolutely phenomenal, considering There's no football tradition there.
No, not at all.
And he just walked in there and had 4,000 all-purpose yards and led them to some huge upset wins. They used to be a doormat in the SEC, and now look where they are. They got a Heisman Trophy finalist.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's just really crazy.
So who would you vote for? You got my Heisman ballot. Here it is. Fill it out. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open for business. We're going from that to other topics on the table in college football. Wow.
Yeah, you got some shockwaves here in college football.
Let's talk about what just happened in Michigan. What's going to happen in Michigan? Sharon Moore fired yesterday at the University of Michigan. Confrontation with police. Fired because he has a mistress, a student who works in the athletic department, which you cannot have.
A student.
They found out through investigation that she was trying to break the relationship up. Then Moore broke into her condo or apartment and threatened her with a knife because she wanted to end the relationship. And then he threatened to kill himself.
Oh my God.
At which point she called police. Police got there and accosted him, took police from 2 different precincts to get him to a mental hospital. He's still in jail as of today without bail. No charges yet, but was under mental health evaluation, was terminated yesterday by the University of Michigan, which had information that he had been involved in a relationship with somebody within the athletic department. But over the hour by hour, the story has built on itself, and they find out that he had given her a 55% pay raise to be an employee and to be, quote, his mistress. It's a really tawdry story. We've not heard the end of it. Michigan has now just been waylaid by scandal. Sharon Moore was part of the whole Jim Harbaugh thing, part of the Spygate cover-up, part of the recruiting violations during COVID. I mean, Harbaugh was hit with 15 years of sanction, will never coach college athletics ever again. Sharon Moore was suspended twice, was allowed to continue to coach. Now he's out. He'll probably never, ever coach again. Michigan has, the chancellor this morning hired a law firm from Washington, D.C. to come in and do a total evaluation of the entire athletic program at Michigan, because they've had problems in other sports with doctors, drugs, homosexuality, cover-ups. There's just been a lot of dirt at the University of Michigan. So they brought in a law firm effective this morning. They hired it, and those people will be there, I think, on the weekend to begin an overhaul evaluation. I think they're going to clean house. I think they're going to get rid of Ward Manuel, the longtime athletic director. There's just been a lot of stuff that's happened. But this Sharon Moore story is just beyond sleazy. And obviously there's a mental health issue there that comes into play. Wow. Second one is Notre Dame. They're at war with everybody. They've spent a week screaming about getting bypassed in the college football playoffs. I believe that the conference committee didn't get it right. I mean, if you're going to invoke head-to-head competition, why should it have not been invoked in your rankings in the middle of the season when Notre Dame was continually put ahead of Miami, even though Miami had beaten them early in the season? But Notre Dame has just ripped the hell out of the Atlantic Coast Conference to the point that relationship looks like it's about to break. The Big 12 Conference has gone public and just chastised the athletic director at Notre Dame for his arrogance and blaming everybody but themselves. They're the ones that scheduled 10 cupcakes after they got beat early in the season. Yes, they won 10 in a row. And I'm just feel so bad for the players that they recommended we don't go to a bowl game. We'll show you we won't go to a bowl game. That's unfair to the kids. Kids deserve to have a party. Go and get the gifts, that go play in the Citrus Bowl or one of the other bowl games, and they're not going. So Notre Dame has really had a bad week. UCLA. I like this guy, Bob Chesney. I know people at James Madison say he is a gem. Now, this is a unique hire. This is a small college guy, but he won at Division I when he took over James Madison. He won at 1AA. He won at Division II, and he won at Division III. but
every level.
But he's not a West Coast guy. He's an East Coast guy. However, I think he's going to bring a whole pile of James Madison players with him, which will give him a starting point. He's going to hire West Coast recruiters to be on his staff. So I think this is a thumbs up hire for Bud Chestnut, and they need something good to happen at UCLA because they are so far down the ladder. Now, there's a sidebar story to UCLA football. We've talked about this whole storyline at UCLA, Rose Bowl lawsuit, SoFi Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Just found out this morning, Southern Cal has problems at the Coliseum because of the Olympics in 2028.
Right.
The Olympics and the Paralympics. That stadium's not going to be available. So USC is trying to configure where are we going to play our home games. They're talking to SoFi Stadium, but they're also going to talk to the Rose Bowl about maybe going there. They want to play in one venue for the whole 28 season. They don't want to be scattered around the marketplace. So that's interesting. You got UCLA pissed off at the Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl suing them. Now SC is showing up. We'd like to schedule some games maybe here. Or maybe we'll go to SoFi Stadiums. That just amazing story there. San Diego State. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Hasn't gotten a lot of traction yet. San Diego State proposed raising student fees 45%.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a student activity fee. They want to raise the fee from $380 to $840 a year. And they want 95% of that money funneled into athletics to help the deficit-ridden Aztec athletic program. Well, they held an on-campus public hearing late last week. It's not gotten a lot of ink, in which students were allowed to talk about the proposal to hike the student activity fee. They brought in athletes from different sports to talk about their experience as student athletes at San Diego State, and the arrows pointed up, and what football's just done, what basketball has always become, and et cetera, et cetera. Student body stood up and raged against the athletes. First of all, student body's upset at a 45% pay hike on the fee. The student body says, I'm trying to remember the quote that somebody gave me. I think they said, "This is disgusting. You're bringing basketball players in here to tell us about their great experience. Those basketball players at San Diego State are on full scholarship, full rides. They're not paying anything.
Right.
And yet you're trying to tell the students we should pay more money out of our pockets. Our family should pay more money. You're telling us this is the way to go, but you're not paying any." They're really upset about that. So the committee tabled the proposal for the pay hike, further evaluation, but that's kind of messy for the students to stand up and kind of criticize the athletes. You're coming in here telling us we should approve this. You're not paying a penny. You're on a full ride. Your benefits you get as an Aztec athlete are unbelievable. And you're telling us we need to fund more?
Yeah.
So anyhow,
a valid
so
point.
John, go ahead. Start at Michigan and weave your way through that roadmap.
Yeah, there is a lot there.
Yeah.
And those 4 bullet points. Okay, for Michigan, isn't it interesting? They've been such an elite athletic program that you think of them as an elite academic university.
Past tense.
But all of this scandal. Now, you said some of their coaches have gotten in trouble, but there was that gymnast coach that was Michigan State.
That was Michigan State, but there were also there was a team physician that was involved in sexual misconduct with male and female athletes at the end of the Bo Schembechler era, and nothing was ever done about it. It was covered up.
Weird. I mean, it's really sad to hear. The Sharon Moore story was awful. I mean, just awful.
How could you do that?
How can you be dumb enough to date a student or even a young person on the staff? I mean, it's just an idiotic decision by them. So, yeah, I'm glad that they're going to try to clean house and get it right. The Notre Dame thing, they're like a bunch of babies crying. I mean,
arrogant.
You just got to win the games. They think that they ride on this high cloud, this pedestal, that they're better than everybody else because they're Notre Dame and they get the big, TV contract and they're independent.
Past tense.
Yeah. So, there's always going to be teams on the edge, and some make it and some don't. And by the way, I'm hating all of this hate on James Madison and Tulane getting in. People think that this bracket should not include the group of 5. We need to exclude the group of 5 completely. And I'm thinking, No, having a group of 5 schools makes this special. I mean, we know that's true in March Madness, and it's definitely going to be true in football when these little schools have a chance to compete and every once in a while knock the big guy off. So, yes, screw you, Notre Dame. UCLA, I saw the quote in the Best 15 about Chesney, and he says, "We are not going to be the other football team in Los Angeles." And I thought that's a great quote. You know, I mean, you got to go beyond that, but coming in the door, that's a great quote to make. So I'm wishing them well. That a lot of chaos with that whole situation. And then, yeah, if I'm a student at San Diego State, it's like, F you, you know, I'm not going to, why should I, especially if you're a student, but you don't give a hoot about athletics. You know, you're there because you want to be a doctor or whatever you're studying to do. Why should they pay more for those athletes? What needs to happen is the boosters need to come in, and the NIL needs to do what the NIL is going to do. You know, you can't really ask, San Diego State can't expect to get more taxpayer dollars to fund this. So this is tricky. You know, everyone wants to be a big time D1 program, but someone has to write the check. And, you know, we don't have a lot of big cigars in town, like you say.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you're talking about so many controversial hot stories within the last 48 hours. In college athletics, all this has exploded. Okay, we go that last group of topics we're going to talk about before Fans Forum. Go ahead.
Yeah, here we're going to go on to the high-speed sports wire.
LA Clippers, the aftermath of the Chris Paul story. Lawrence Frank met for 3 hours. He's the general manager of the Clippers. He met for 3 hours with Chris Paul last week. The meeting did not go well. That's why the decision was made at 3 o'clock in the morning. Lawrence Frank told Chris Paul, "We are tired of the eruptions and the distractions with your opinions in this locker room. And you don't have a right to sit in the locker room in front of everybody and condemn every teammate, every coach, and this general manager. Out of here." So Chris Paul's career was over. 3-hour meeting. I guess it was pretty nasty. Lakers, they got scorched by San Antonio last night.
I saw that.
They are out of the NBA Cup. I was shocked it was as bad as it was, considering the fact that Victor Wembanyama, the superstar of the Spurs, did not play. But they really got scorched in that one. Sad story with the Lakers. Eldon Campbell passes away in North Carolina. He was the number 1 draft pick, played center for a whole bunch of years, got himself a ring, and then went to Detroit, got another ring. He drowned. He was out fishing. He's only 57. And he had a medical issue on the boat. They have not revealed whether he had a seizure, a stroke, or a heart attack. But he fell into the water and he drowned, age 57.
That's sad.
He was a nice man. Very classy, very quiet, very reserved, very shy.
Yeah, he seemed like a gentle giant when he played.
Exactly. And he's from Clemson, held high reverence in Clemson. Sad story. FIFA Ethics Committee has filed an 8-page document of all kinds of violations against their president, Gianni Infantino, that he intentionally breached the neutrality code that FIFA operates. This all goes back to the peace medal that Infantini gave your president.
Yeah.
And the Ethics Committee 8-page document includes statements. There was no committee, there was no nominations, there was no criteria, there was no judge, there was no process, and you gave that man a peace prize. In addition, Infantino's been criticized for going to Oslo and trying to bully Norway and the Norwegian Nobel Committee to give your president the Nobel Peace Prize.
Jeez.
And Infantino held press conferences analyzing your president and all the things he was doing nationally and globally for peace, with all this racism's going on here with ICE and all the stuff in Ukraine and Russia. And Infantino sided with your president that Ukraine started the damn war. Holy cow. So anyhow, the Ethics Committee, an 8-page document of violations.
Unbelievable.
Hell, he might be sitting at a table next week doing this podcast with you.
Yeah, he might.
Which is absolutely amazing. And if that doesn't top everything else, NASCAR. This story broke just before I was coming over. Today was supposed to be the final day of testimony in the mega antitrust lawsuit. Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, the 2 teams suing NASCAR over charters. revenue sharing, etc. All the documentation that was presented over the 9 days of this trial painted a dark black picture of what was going to happen at the end of this court case. They settled out of court today before the final day of testimony and closing comments are supposed to be made, and they've come up with a new form of how the charters are going to be handled, how the money is going to be distributed, and evidently Michael Jordan standing up, I told you about this on Monday, standing up at the trial on the stand and pointing at Jim France, the president of NASCAR, pointing his finger.
Right on.
Was saying, this has never been a partnership. This has been a dictatorship. You took all this money from all these teams who are losing money, that are employing 300 to 450 people per team. You took all that money and put it in the France family trust fund. Evidently, the Michael Jordan testimony started to turn the wheels here.
Cool.
And then on top of that, Richard Childress, legendary owner, he testified that he felt he had to sign the charter agreement that NASCAR gave him at a deadline, or otherwise he and the 350 people he employs at Childress Racing would be out of business.
Wow.
And they also presented letters from Joe Gibbs, Jack Roush, Roger Penske, and one other group, imploring NASCAR to meet with them to talk about changes to save all these teams, and NASCAR refused. So all this documentation, starting with Michael Jordan's testimony to what happened early this week, has led to a settlement of this massive case, because they were going to lose their ass. This went to jury. They're going to lose by Friday in this lawsuit. This is an amazing turnaround, acrimony. So it was amazing. Michael Jordan was the difference maker, I think, in this whole thing.
MJ, the hero, once again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you got to stand up to the bully, you know, and those other owners never had the guts to do it. And you got to get an outsider in that has huge credibility.
Right.
So this is a cool story. I mean, good on you, Michael Jordan, and just as an aside, you know, it's the good old boys, you know, and you've got a black athlete going after the good old boys. That's kind of a whole other angle to this. Yep. It's like, you go, MJ. The FIFA thing, that's everyone wants to kiss Trump's ass. You know, and it's always want to give him all these gifts. And then, you know, you say working over the Nobel, you know, the committee to give him they just seized a tanker off of Venezuela yesterday, you know, so I don't know, all of that's nuts. But again, it doesn't surprise me with FIFA, because they've always been like
corrupt.
Yes. You know, just kind of, you know, trying to get a little action here, a little action there, stroking people just so they can make the huge money that they bring in for the World Cup. Tough on Eldon Campbell, because like I said, I thought of him as a gentle giant. Was he left-handed? He might have been. I can't remember, but I remember him at Clemson as well. And then, yeah, Chris Paul. I mean, have you ever been around an employee like that that's just always bitching about everybody and publicly? And I mean, that's a cancer in the organization. You have to just jettison.
Well, you heard the old phrase, pull the rope. Everybody pulls the rope in the same direction for the good of the team.
Yeah, exactly.
So why is Chris Paul acting this way? But it's interesting. Kawhi Leonard came out last week and said he's all about winning. He's always been like that as a player. So we knew if there was an explosion in the locker room, what the meaning behind the explosion was, because he wanted us to be successful and consider other things. But Lawrence Frank, the general manager who put this roster together, said we can't have this any longer.
No, yeah, you have to, some point you got to cut it off.
Okay, those are hot topics on the table. John and I are going to apologize in advance for doing the damn job the way sports talk is supposed to be done. There's an awful lot of information here.
Well, it's like you were saying, the Dodgers will not apologize for their greatness. And now you want to apologize for your greatness?
No. We are here. We are ready. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Lots of locations to serve you. Just a reminder, Christmas gift ideas, Christmas cards from DIXIELINE. Go to DIXIELINE.com, see all the things they have to offer. I am ready for Fans Forum. The chat box is just filled, and not everybody's bringing Christmas greetings. That's okay. John, go ahead, get started.
Yeah, there's some first timers in the list too. But we'll start here with Music to My Ears. Thank you very much for the donation. The FIFA prize is just a way to get Dementia Dawn to stay occupied, looking at the medal and out of the World Cup planning.
Well, I mean, he was threatening to do a whole bunch of things. His president is threatening to do a whole bunch of things, but he doesn't have any power over FIFA. And, you're going to put your footprint in here and screw this thing up like some other things that his president has screwed up. I hope not. I don't know. One of these days, if we ever have a quiet period where we don't have a lot of topics on the table, maybe one of these days we should just ask people, would you vote for his president again? You think we should do that? Should we veer off a little bit into the political arena? Because we have talk when politics has the intersection with sports, we do talk about the topics.
Yeah, and I like how you talk about politics, but again, you don't just do it for random purposes. It's when it crosses the world of sports.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when we were doing that earlier, because Trump seems to get his name involved in everything in society. When we were talking about that crisscross of politics and sports previously, some of our Hacksaw's insiders and the people that follow here on the live chat, they were angry. They were like, what are you doing talking politics? We wanted to follow sports because we don't like politics.
But it's at the intersection.
Yeah, it is at the intersection. So you got to go there. And I like the fact that you go there. But just as an aside, you said, well, one of these days, if we have like a slow week in sports, I've noticed hanging around you, there ain't no slow weeks. We go in these seasons and you think, okay, football's finally over and baseball hasn't started yet. Surely in February and March, it'll be a little bit slow, but no. There's lots going on every week of the year. It's unbelievable.
Okay. Thank you for the input. And I hope you become a regular and tell all your friends about what we're doing on this podcast.
Nice music to my ears is a regular. It's made a few donations. Thank you. Okay, let's go here to Casey. Hey, good afternoon, guys. Good signing of Edwin Diaz by my Dodgers. Hacksaw, I'm hoping they get Stephen Kwan. And who do they give up if they go after him?
Well, they've got 3 outfielders at AA that are really good. Maybe they have to give up one of them. And obviously, they've got a whole truckload of pitching at Oklahoma City. I don't think it's going to be anybody off the major league roster. Cleveland always has dealt veterans away, and they've gotten young guys, prospects that they can fast forward to play there on the lakefront. So it might be a 2-for-1 deal. Kwan did not have a great statistical year last year, but he's got a great glove. He's a .280 lifetime hitter, occasionally pop home runs. I mean, guy plays all the time. He's not bad. But Jarren Duran's name just surfaced out of Boston, and Boston might use him as a bargaining chip, and maybe the Dodgers wind up there with him. So, but the Dodgers are so deep, as Andrew Friedman said, why do I have to apologize for having the best farm system in baseball? Why do I have to apologize for spending $405 million on payroll this year, effective as of this morning? So there is another transaction coming for sure.
Well, first of all, you said in the best 15 that the Dodgers are now considering Kyle Tucker again on a shorter deal.
Yeah, but he's represented by
him. No, okay, wait, here we go again with that.
Oh no, that's right.
Yeah, it's not Boris,
not Scott
but
Boras.
he's still going to be wanting a longer deal.
Well, he wants 10 years initially. Now I hear it's 5. The Dodgers, I just don't think the Dodgers might go 5 for Kyle Tucker. They're not going beyond that, but I was told they want to go 3.
Well, now work with me here. Like if Teoscar is gone, he goes to Kansas City or wherever, and what does that outfield look like suddenly? I mean, there's no one out there.
Well, you got Pages
and Edman, and maybe you still have Conforto.
No, Conforto's not coming back.
Yeah. So who else is in the outfield?
Well, then you make this deal to either go get Tucker or you go get Kwan or you go get Duran.
Right.
And the wild card is you still got Mookie Betts, gold glove type guy who can go back to right field if you wish.
But then you need to have a shortstop, and who are you going to put there? So who knows? Yeah.
They do have money in the checking account. Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Okay.
Next
case.
All right. Let's keep trucking down here. Let's go here to Carlos. Hey, Skubal to the Dodgers, a real possibility. What are your thoughts on this rumor?
It seems far-fetched. They don't need starting pitching. But Detroit's talking to everybody. I mean, I think the one rumor that's most legitimate to me is the Yankees. The Yankees are desperate for starting pitching because they got 3 of their guys who are not going to be there at the start of the season, obviously led by Garrett Cole, who's still not ready. And Rondon has had late surgery in the offseason. He's not going to be there. So the Yankees, to me, and the Yankees do have a load of young players, but from the Tiger Stadium perspective at Comerica Park, why would you trade your ace? You're telling everybody we're the team to beat in the American League Central. Why would you trade Skubal? Why would you not try to sign Skubal? So this whole thing's far-fetched. Dodgers thing, to me, that makes no sense to me whatsoever, because the Mets and the Yankees are the ones that really need pitching. The Dodgers don't need more pitching.
See, as a Dodger fan thinks, the next Cy Young guy, well, of course he'll come to the Dodgers, like when they expect that. But you're right. There ain't no room in that starting pitching lineup. And you don't want to get rid of any of those guys.
And from Detroit's standpoint, why would you do that?
Well, unless you can do what the Padres are trying to do with Pivetta, where you deal a big name like Skubal and you get back 3 or 4 guys. And the Dodgers could do that. But, they've got other problems to solve. Okay,
we move on.
All right, let's go here to Flash Bainey. He goes, "Hi, Lee and John. You mentioned on Monday that USC was playing at Texas Tech at the Sun Bowl.
No.
I wish that was true, but they're playing at the Alamo Bowl. I'll be at Arizona State and Duke in El Paso."
It's TCU. It's not Texas Tech. It's TCU.
TCU is in the Alamo Bowl.
Against Southern Cal.
I
was referencing my experience when I did USC football. We played TCU. That was in the Sun Bowl in El Paso, and what a bad game that turned out to be with LaDainian Tomlinson. He was a sophomore, I think, at TCU, and holy cow, they ran the wishbone and the option all day. Southern Cal never got off the field and got their brains blown out.
Well, Flash Bainey lives in La Cruces, New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
And so you're just down the road there from El Paso. So you got fans all over the United States, Lee.
Hey, you're going to go see the New Mexico Bowl, San Diego State, North Texas State? I don't think there'll be any Aztec fans there. I think everybody's coming across the border from North Texas State. It's North Texas State.
It's just North Texas University, right?
Is that Amarillo?
No, it's just north of Dallas.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember the city name. If I heard it, I'll say, oh yeah. But it's in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro.
So there'll be a lot of Mean Green fans in that yard.
Oh, big time.
That'd be a good game. I mean, that's the Aztecs' really good defense against Meshmaker, that quarterback who threw for 4,000 yards this year.
Well, you were saying they were the #1 offense in America?
504 yards.
I mean, the Aztec defense is good, but I don't know if they're that good.
Yeah, but that kid's never seen this defense.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun bowl game on the 27th. It's really going to be a fun bowl game.
All right. Well, Sean Lewis has got something to work on. Okay, let's keep on trucking. I mean, Showtime is also asking about Skubal. Everyone's in on the Skubal thing. This is from Drew Dan Lee. We love you.
Damn right. Bleeping brilliant.
He says Ohtani should be deported for gambling.
Oh, no.
Okay, moving on. Let's go to John. Tatis's dad didn't have a long shelf life. He was hurt after his 1999 breakout season. Remember 2 grand slams in 1 inning? And was pretty much out of baseball by 2005. Concentrate on pitching, and they should promote Ruben Niebla as pitching coach. Get Trevor Bauer and give him a chance with a good conduct clause in his contract, of course.
Well, we talked about Bauer as being a safety valve guy. Nobody's talking about Bauer. Now, he got hurt last year, Yokohama Bay Stars. He did not have a good second half of the season. And so nobody's mentioned his name at all. The name I mentioned was Julio Urias. The left-handed pitcher had been suspended, but has now been reinstated by baseball. I mean, that's one phone call away. You could put a Bauer clause into Urias's contract, and that guy was 20-4 1 year. I think his career record with the Dodgers is like 61-35. Why not?
Well, because it'd be a terrible PR move. I mean, you have such loyalty with the fans, and if this team's roster construction degrades further, where they don't make the playoffs, that's going to affect, how many people show up at the turnstile. And the minute you hire one of these bad character guys, that's a whole other faction. It's going to say, I'm done.
You don't believe in second chances?
I do believe in second chances, but not right now for the Padres. Let the Angels give the second chances to these guys. But the Padres right now, they can't afford to make that kind of and also if they're for sale. I mean, it's just, they can't make that move right now.
Okay. Well, you can feel free to jump on board. The idea is to put the best product on the field, and sometimes you need to step over the line. And if the kid learns something from this suspension was big. I mean, it's taken a year of earning power and a year of his career away from him. So maybe he's learned something. And I was told he went through counseling, etc. But his name has not been mentioned anywhere by anybody.
You're talking about Urias now,
yes,
right?
Unless he's going to Japan, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. We don't seem to talk about him. I mean, Bauer is always out there squawking on social media.
But not anymore, at least not recently.
Interesting. Yeah, teams are desperate for pitching. They'll pick up anybody that's, can throw over 95.
And the Padres are bleeding pitching. They're hemorrhaging pitching.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, we move on. John, thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's go to the 949 Sports Jeff. Hey, good afternoon, Lee and John. Do you know why Fox are not putting the scores of the other NFL games on your TV screen?
That's interesting. I thought I'd seen that. Usually when they go to highlights, they're only putting NFC highlights on. Fox is putting NFC highlights. They won't show the AFC.
Really?
CBS puts AFC highlights, but then I don't think puts NFC highlights on them, trying to protect their relationships.
Well, or maybe they just figure they only give so much time, for those highlights. I mean, they only give Chris Berman 3 minutes, right? So, but I can't remember which broadcast it was, but I noticed that some of the score bug for the out of town games was just white letters and numbers with no background. So it was almost like a silhouette, rather than having something really flashy on the screen. So they're experimenting, I guess.
Yeah, and they don't want it to be a distraction from the game.
Yeah, not like our podcast screen.
We had a lot of material up there.
Yeah, we do. All right, let's keep on going down the list. Oh, here's talk about Bauer from Hans. He goes, Trevor Bauer back in a uniform? Unless it's for prison time. Oh, wait, it's the pods.
No, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think he's healthy. At least I've never been able to find out what happened to him in Japan. But, I mean, he stopped pitching because I assumed he was hurt. His record wasn't very good. The prior year, he pitched very well out of the gate in Mexico, and then he got sick. And he actually came back to the States and missed the final third of the Mexican season and wound up going back to Yokohama Bay Stars. So, and again, he's not young any longer. So, but he's got to be 35, maybe 36. It's been a while since he pitched at the major league level. So I've not heard his name mentioned hardly at all.
Yeah, I just remember when he was coming up was with Cleveland, right?
Yes.
Isn't that where he got to start? And I remember hearing initially that he was this bright light, this young guy that's pitching. But it was the first weird thing was when he got his hand mangled by his model airplane or something like a gas engine airplane.
Yeah.
And then they weren't sure if he was going to be able to pitch in the playoffs. And you're thinking, why in the F are you like messing around with this kind of a remote control airplane?
Weird dude.
Yeah. I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah. So his career really went off track. He went from Cleveland to Cincinnati, then he wound up being a Dodger, then that whole mess with the woman here in San Diego, and it's never, ever been the same since. He lost a lot of money, and he lost a lot of valuable time on the mound.
Well, there were moments I think he did well in Japan, but then there were other moments where he was just getting bombed.
I'm trying to remember. I went back and configured his entire one-loss record, and I think at one point he was 20-4. With Bay Stars. But then he wound up going to Mexico and he started real quick in Mexico and then he got sick and he went back to Tokyo and back to Yokohama. I think his record, when the last I had checked, he was like 4-9 and he was not pitching. So that to me is an injury.
Yeah. But at some point, you get the phone call and you realize that's the end of the run.
Yep. Maybe with him.
Okay. All right, let's go here to Horse Soldier 19. He goes, the Chargers will sweep the Chiefs and the Broncos.
Wow, that's bold. Kansas City's a mess right now. They can't run the football. There is so much on the shoulders of Patrick Mahomes. And you watch Chiefs games more recently, the penalty situation is just out of control. And that should not be for an Andy Reid team. But they got 5 offensive linemen out with a wide variety of injuries, and the backups are all taking penalties, and the secondary and the linebackers and pass defense has just been poor. I mean, the last couple of weeks, a lot of penalties, and then drop passes. I mean, Kelsey's dropped more passes this year than I've ever seen in his entire career, and the other guys are not holding on to stuff, and Mahomes has just got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's doing so much. He's got over 3,500 all-purpose yards this season, which is a phenomenal workload, so they're in trouble, and maybe their time has come. They've gotten old and been able to replace the people. They can't run the damn ball in terms of heavy duty, so therefore it's so much more. Mahomes is their leading rusher. Mahomes is to Kansas City what Lamar Jackson at the height of his career was to Baltimore, run and throw.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, first of all, if the Chargers could sweep the Chiefs and the Broncos, I mean, that'd be amazing. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Kansas City still has something in them, especially since their back is against the wall.
Yep.
But you ever notice in an NFL game, like when a receiver drops a pass, like an easy one, and they'll show him on the sideline with his teammates, and sometimes the teammates are trying to pick them up. Sometimes they look like they're kind of depressed because they missed the opportunity, or they might be angry. But it was after that play that Mahomes threw to Travis Kelce near the end where he bobbled it and the butterfingers and it got intercepted. They showed Kelce like on the sideline on the bench, and he was sitting back, and his head and his eyes were closed. And you could tell, man, his mind must have been turning. Like, is this the end of the run? Is this I'm married to, the biggest superstar on the planet, and now all eyes are on me as a failure? Or what happened to this season? It makes you wonder what he was thinking in that moment.
I think you check off all those boxes. That being said, he is the leading receiver on the team.
Still, yeah.
He's got 60-plus catches this season. But I've seen more tip balls and drops. Maybe that's him trying to make a play before the ball gets there.
Yeah, that maybe the mind is not calm.
And the stuff is coming off his fingers because he's looking where he can run.
Yeah, exactly. The mind is going too fast.
It's been a strange year for him. But if I gave you a checklist of problems, you'd fill up that sheet of paper.
So on the Charger games against the Kansas City and Denver, are those on the road or at home?
Both away.
Both away. Oh, yeah. This Horse Soldier 19D. I mean, dude, they're not going to win both of those games on the road. I mean, those are both tough assignments.
Charger fan. Anything's possible comes out of a Charger fan's mouth. I mean, you're dealing with Raider fans. Anything's possible comes out of their mouth. So they got one more home game. I think it's Houston is here with that great defense. And they got to go to Denver, Kansas City, and they got to go play Dallas.
Wow. I mean, I kind of thought there was a chance that the Chargers could slip out of playoff picture, but Kansas City would slip in. But I don't know about Kansas City slipping in.
They're 6-7. Kansas City has to run the table.
So they have to go 10-7 and get help.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay,
let's go here to Luis. He goes, hey, longtime fan of you, Hacksaw. Any Lakers news of trades?
No, but what's really weird? The agent representing LeBron James, Rich, what's his last name? From Clutch Sports, always talking. He did an interview with Max Kellerman yesterday, and he said the Lakers don't have enough to be a contender in the Western Conference. I said, wow, Lakers are 17-6. Here's LeBron's agent, Rich Paul. He's making these comments and Lakers have no cap space. I don't think they have very much that's tradable unless you're going to trade Austin Reeves. I don't think that's going to happen. But Rich Paul, a third of the way into the season, says this team does not have enough to compete. So LeBron was asked about it last night after the game, and LeBron just rolled his eyes and said, well, we don't view it that way in our locker room. We're not worried about the playoffs. We're worried about the month of December, and let's just keep winning. And they're 17-7. And they're not really had the whole team together because LeBron was out for a chunk of time. But I think there's always a secret agenda with Rich Paul. He's always saying something to see how the world's going to react or try to deliver a message about my client and all. Shut up. Let LeBron play with Luka and Austin Reeves. I'm really disappointed in DeAndre Ayton. He was MIA last night, and Wembanyama was not playing. How is that possible?
Yeah, I saw some post-game interview of Ayton, and he just looked kind of
out there.
Yeah, he's just not mentally doesn't have like a killer instinct. He just seems like more of a free-spirited kind of guy. But the Lakers are playing way above what we thought they were going to be. I mean, so if you were to ask me at the beginning of the season, do they have enough to be a championship team? I would have said no, even though they have a great record right now. So I don't know. It's weird when the Lakers, everyone still thinks that they're number one.
Well, everybody,
but they're not.
Reflects back to those eras. Well, those eras don't have anything to do with where they are today. Luka is just outperforming everything Luka's ever done, and LeBron's not quite back yet to what LeBron could be, should be. And Reeves is having a good year on a contract season. I don't think they get depth. I don't like that roster. And Oklahoma City's another galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
24-1. Did you see last night? They were beating Phoenix by 53 points in the third quarter.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, they're great. I mean, the Spurs, when they're fully loaded, they're going to be great.
Houston's having a really good season. I mean, but the Lakers will be upper echelon in the West. But if the Lakers get the Western Conference, finals? I don't think so.
Did you see Luka was wearing the San Diego State shoes? Apparently, he's been wearing different basketball shoes representing different universities from game to game. And then, with the Laker white and purple and gold, he had the red and black Aztec sneakers on the court, and they looked cool. But I think it's neat that Luka's doing that.
Good deal. Okay, we move on.
Okay, let's go here. Okay, here we go. Talk Raiders. This is with Drunken Mick. He goes, "Hey, I'm a Raider fan, and I'm excited and I believe in them. Then they can lose 4 in a row and maybe get the #1 draft pick. Hope Tennessee and New York Giants win some games."
Well, they have 2 number 1s. So at the end of the day, you better use your currency on offensive linemen. They've got a terrible offensive line. Just look at the disparity. They've scored 21 touchdowns and given up 50. I would have never thought a Pete Carroll team would have done that. So end of the day, they need offensive linemen more than they need anything else. I mean, they've burned a whole year of Ashton Genty's career, and he's such a really good player. They just can't pass protect, they can't run block, and they can't play defense either. So it's just a disaster. Raider fan, Drunken Mick, you should show up with a sign at Allegiant Stadium. Memo, Mark Davis, sell the team. Because that's the problem.
It's interesting how in the draft, certain teams will always go for the quarterback, the running back, like Ashton Genty. And there are other teams that quietly just build their offensive and defensive lines before they add the skill players. Now, has either strategy been analyzed and said, oh, this is the best way to build a team?
Well, how did Detroit get good? They drafted linemen. I mean, Detroit has had a run in this Dan Campbell era. A run. He inherited some, and then they added more really good fronts. And then they made the trade for Jared Goff and got better and better. And then they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think is a stud of an explosive player. And have always had St. Brown at wide receiver. So, you need a quarterback in this league, but you need to be able to protect this quarterback in this league to survive. And a lot of clubs don't have that.
Interesting.
Just ask Joe Burrow, Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, I saw a hit presser with him. He looks like he's going through, I'm not sure if I want to keep my career going.
Well, I don't think he wants to keep his career going in Cincinnati. And I've said this to you on this podcast multiple times. I said it to friends back in Ohio, because Mike Brown is such a bad owner, and their front office is so prehistoric. We're going to wake up one morning and Joe Burrow is either going to be out of football because of injuries, because he's taken a terrible beating, or you're going to wake up, he's going to say, I want out of here. I'm not going to do this anymore here. I think we're getting to that point.
Yeah. I that was the vibe I was getting. Yep. Okay, let's go here to Andrew. It says this is a 2-punch here. First one is, hey, you still rule, Hacksaw.
Bloody well right, we do.
And he says, hey, Rivers won't live through the first quarter. There's no cure for Frankenfoot.
Well, we'll find out. They do have Jonathan Taylor to run the football. That offensive front's pretty good. I can't believe that Rivers would play this weekend in Seattle. That to me is really absurd. But if he can be on the sidelines, and if he can coach Riley Leonard through what is going on, I think they're going to try to run the damn ball on Seattle. Put less pressure on the kid quarterback and just pound it, shorten the game if they can. But the fact that Rivers was told back in October when Anthony Richardson first got hurt, would you consider this? He said yes. And I think Shane Steichen made the statement back in early October, well, think about conditioning and just prepare yourself in case a phone call comes. Well, the phone call finally came. And then the other intangibles, he walks into the meeting room. Here's the playbook on Sunday night they gave him when he flew in from Alabama. That's the exact same playbook that he had with the Chargers. So he knows all the calls. He knows the language. He knows the audible system, because the verbiage is the exact same thing. So he's really ahead of the curve as compared to Cam Newton showing up wearing his hat and his silk scarves.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see if he can get into play. But didn't you say in the best 15 that Riley Leonard was hurt?
He's got something with the back of his knee, but he has practiced. It's a minor PCL injury, but you can play with a posterior cruciate ligament strain because it's the back of the knee. It's not a stabilizing part.
So if going into the game, if Leonard is the QB1, and then I'd imagine if Rivers is there, he's QB3, if anything, right?
Well, we don't know. We don't know if they're going to activate Brett Ripien. Which
Ripien. That was the one that was QB2.
That's the one I think that should be activated.
Yeah.
But at this point, as of today, they'd yet to make that move. But they can make that up until Sunday at 9 a.m. They can make that move. But if Rivers is QB3, Rivers can't play unless the other two guys get hurt.
Okay, yeah.
Rivers could be QB2, which would be he the first guy off the bench if Leonard gets overwhelmed by Seattle's defense.
And then Richardson's out for the year?
Well, yeah, he's not practicing. That orbital bone fracture in his eye was pretty serious. That takes a long time to come back from.
Wow. Okay. Let's go here to Isma. He goes, F the group of 5. They'll get run over. Notre Dame is all that.
Notre Dame is good, but the way Notre Dame has acted, they've really offended a ton of people. The whole group of 5 thing, with apologies to my co-host, you're full of crap. I don't see what's so cool about having James Madison go to Oregon and lose 69-3, because that's going to happen. So, is Tulane and that conference equal to the superstar conferences? The others? No, not really. Is Boise State, San Diego State in this conference equal to those guys? No, not at all. So system's not quite. John wants to be fair, so I assume you want Farley Dickinson to be in the playoffs too.
I remember when the Aztecs played them in March Madness, I had to look them up. It's not too far from New York City, I think.
New Jersey, yeah.
Yeah, it's in Jersey there. I just like it when the process is objective, not subjective. Because if you could say that the division or conference winners get in the playoffs and you've got big teams and little teams, I think that's cool. Exactly the way March Madness works.
But March Madness is different. That's 5 players as compared to a whole football team.
So what? So what? It's a different sport. It's a different game. They play it differently. You use a different roster, but it's cool to see, number one, that little guys have a shot. And number 2, that the big boys with all the big names don't just get an automatic invitation every year. Because that if a lot of people had it their own way, I mean, Notre Dame and Alabama and Ohio State, they'd be at like automatic qualifiers every year. Mm-hmm. And I don't like that.
I just don't think 69-3 is a good game.
But we had a 65-7 national championship game, and I don't hear you complaining about that. We should just give the award to the semifinalists that we like the most.
This guy, he drank too much coffee this morning.
Okay, let's go back to music to my ears. Thanks again for the donation. Hey, Padres lose Robert Suarez to the Braves. Michael King looking at offers. Dylan Cease gone. Are they really looking to trade Pivetta? They must really be struggling financially. Any offers to buy the team?
No offers yet. That's a long process. I bet it takes a year if it is going to be sold. John Seidler, who has really been private, has hardly talked to the media at all, did say at the winter meetings, we expect to have the same payroll, which would be about $224 million. Well, I'll wait to see, because they're losing guys. They're hemorrhaging pitching here, which means there's more money to use, but there's more pitchers coming off the board, and AJ has not signed anybody at this point in time. They got to find pitching, and Michael King's gone. If they could go back and convince Michael King, if you're only going to get 3 years from anybody else, get 3 years and stay here. Now, maybe you have to pay a little more, but you get them, and that's a known quantity. And then if they could get Michael King, and then they get MIE, the Japanese right-hander, because they've creatively offered him, I was told, 3 years, $33 million, your chance to pitch against Ohtani 13 times this year, and you get a chance to go back and be a free agent age 31. If they could get King and the Japanese pitcher to go with Pivetta, that's pretty nice rotation. And then you're really deep in the bullpen. And then you got a ton of different guys stacked that might be your 4th and 5th starters.
See, that could work, because King would be about $20 million a year, and he might $10 million a year, right?
No, yeah, 10 or 11 mil.
Yeah, so that's, you said they had like 30, 35 to play with, right?
Exactly.
So that could work. But they're both those guys are going to be getting flooded with offers. They're going to take the best deal. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Michael King got 5 years, because he doesn't have very many miles on the odometer.
But everybody's concerned about this.
Yeah, I know.
That's why it's 3.
But it's competitive. There's like 7 teams in on the bidding.
Yep.
And everyone, if you do 3, hey, will you do 4? Hey, will you do 5?
Yep.
Play them against each other.
We'll see where it goes, but they need pitching. They definitely need pitching. You need to check my website this morning. I wrote a column about the Padres pitching situation this morning, my one man's opinion column. When we're done with this podcast, just go to the website, leehacksawhamilton.com. Just go to the one man's opinion page, punch that up, because I wrote a big, expansive opinion piece on Padre pitching and where they are and what AJ has to do. But geez, if they could convince King to come back and find a creative way to get the Japanese pitcher, now suddenly everything changes.
Yeah, that works. I'd be in on that. But you got to thread a needle to make that happen.
I concur. You're not big on Randy Vasquez being your trustworthy number 2.
Not a 2, but Vasquez deserves to be a 3, I think, at minimum. So we'll see. Okay, let's go here to William. And he goes, Arg, want to be happy for San Diego State going bowling, but not easy to get excited about going back to New Mexico. Been there many times. Such a boring place.
I've been to New Mexico a bunch to do games. I kind of like it. Albuquerque is a different city, that's for certain. It would have been cool. John wanted to go to Tucson. He wanted to go to the Snoop Dogg Bowl. He was hoping that they'd get an invite to go to the Snoop Dogg Bowl so he could go hang with Snoop Dogg. It's tough. I mean, these are all second and third tier games. I bet they draw 15,000 for the New Mexico Bowl. That's all they've ever drawn. It's not like I got to go see this game. It's not like being at Boise State and playing on the blue carpet. So, by the way, speaking of bowls, this is the final year of the bowl at SoFi, the LA Bowl.
Really?
They're not going to keep it next year. It's gone with the Pac-12 situation, the new look Pac-12. So I don't know where that bowl is moving to, but it's not been supported in LA either.
Well, the whole bowl system is, again, it would turn the page, expand the playoff. That's what they need to do. But I remember seeing people talking about, with the college football playoff, we've lost the oldness of the bowl games. But people said in the Christmas season, I always loved it. You turn on the TV on a Thursday afternoon and there'd be a football game.
Oh yeah, I love it. Exactly. I'd like to see some teams or some quarterbacks that I follow during the year that we never got a chance to really see on TV. Like Texas Tech Red Raiders, that quarterback Morris is really good. They chuck the ball all over the place. This kid at North Texas State, I'm going to watch that sucker on the 27th. I'm going to see this kid that throws for 4,000 yards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's novel. Would I watch all 4 quarters? No, but I'll watch a chunk of it, and it's cool. But some of the real pizzazz is gone. And I think now, well, the Rose Bowl is going to be a semifinal game. Well, I was so used to the granddaddy of them all, Big Ten, Pac-10, how important that was historically, and the Orange Bowl. That used to be so big because it was the Big 12 and the SEC and all that.
But you have the Rose Bowl as a semifinal. I mean, that's still a granddaddy game, man. Yeah. I mean, that's the way you solve it, is you just make those quarterfinals and those, round of 32 or whatever, you make those bowl games, and I think they could do it. It's just money, they just got to work out the dollars.
I'd love to see the Holiday Bowl become a first round matchup game. You got all these other bowl games that are scuffling and struggling. Just make the Holiday Bowl and some of the Citrus Bowl, etc., make them the entry bowl games for the first round.
I remember the Holiday Bowl used to be the best non-New Year's Day bowl. At least that's how I thought of it.
It was always throw the football, the SMUs, the BYU games, and they were also on TV by themselves. There's really nobody going head-to-head against them.
Interesting.
So, okay, we move on.
Okay, and here's a comment here from Fantasy X Channel. He goes, don't need to talk about politics. Been listening to Lee for 30 years. Let's stay on topic.
We do, except when politics intersects with sports, we do have to talk about it. I mean, I bet they depose the president of FIFA, and this is one of the global great jobs, and they're deposing him because of his relationship with his president. So we do have to talk about it some, do we not?
Yeah, we do. We do have to do a little bit. And by the way, William kind of corrected us here. He goes, North Texas is from Denton, Texas.
That's right.
Which is off the I-35 north of DFW. So it's right in that metroplex.
Home of Mean Joe Green, who played for the Big Green way back.
Okay. And then William said, yeah, I've been listening to Lee since 1989 while at Grossmont High School. True San Diego legend.
Thank you very much.
You still get the love, man. I mean,
I get a lot of abuse too. Thank you.
You do get a lot of abuse as well. Okay. Here's Mr. Blinksy. Julio Urias. Did you see him swinging at his girlfriend? Padres would be the biggest losers ever. Get your blippity bleep together, Hamilton.
Well, I concur. So at the end of the day, you need players. And if this guy's learned something by the bad experiences that he put himself in, maybe he deserves a chance. There's no doubt this guy is a really good pitcher. Again, the Padres are in a situation, they need to find arms. And I know what he crossed the line again. That's pretty stupid. And when he got arrested the second time, I said there needs to be an intervention. He was out of baseball for a year and a half. So, but we need pitching in San Diego, do we not?
We do, but you can't go there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's just, the Padres have done such a good job of, granted they don't have like the uber, comic book characters like Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts, but generally speaking, the Padres players have been pretty good, keeping their nose clean in the community, right? So you don't want to rock that boat. I mean, that's just a boat that don't need rocking.
Okay, John won't touch it. We'll just see a week from today, 3 weeks from today, who's got pitching and who's still looking for pitching.
Everyone's looking for pitching,
okay.
But go to the Angels. The Angels could use them, and I can make a case for it, but I'm not good on it here.
Okay, move on.
Moving on. Okay, let's go here to social media and get some of our friends there involved. And okay, let's talk a little Clippers. This is with Tyler's downfall. It's another year, same story. Rackham, AM 690.
Clippers, they've tried 3 times under this ownership to become an elite team in the West, and injuries have sidetracked them and controversy, and it's amazing. Steve Ballmer's going to have to go back to square one because right now he's got an old team that doesn't play very well athletically, can't keep up. Obviously, got rid of Chris Paul. There obviously have to be more changes coming because you can't just survive. There's a story out there around the league that they are shopping Zubac, the starting center. And both Detroit and Toronto are very interested. But the price would be 2 number ones or number one and quality players. So if they trade Zubac, that means they're going into total rebuild mode with an aging Harden and an injured Kawhi Leonard, who those 2 guys have got very short time left on their clock.
I love the gloss. That's Rome gloss right there.
Yeah.
Rackham, just great days. I remember you at 690. But yeah, the Clippers, it's the same old story, man. I mean, Zubac is a hell of a player. I mean,
he's made himself a hell of a player.
And we were talking about how the Lakers needed a guy like him.
They had him. He was a young player. He was a Laker, but they weren't patient enough to stay with him. He's developed into a tremendous big man, tough guy, on the floor all the time.
Yeah. Can you imagine though? Yeah. If they got rid of him, that's a signal to season ticket holder that we are, going to be going through, rebuild. And that ain't fun.
Yep.
Okay. Let's keep going here. And this came in before Monday Night Football. And this is from Bobby Winston talking about the Eagles and the Chargers. And he says, as a Bolt fan, I agree. We can't stop the run and have a horrible offensive line. They are winning on the sheer will by the coach and quarterback, but it won't last in the long run. Eagles by 10.
Except the Eagles self-destructed. And I don't understand the play calling. I mean, the Chargers were blitzing and the Eagles couldn't block it. The way you get around that is you go hot receiver and you roll that quarterback. And yet they had Hurts just stepping up into the pocket in the face of all that. And he was long-arming balls, and he lost all of his accuracy, and the balls were getting deflected at the line, getting floated out in the secondary, deflected. I mean, 5 turnovers. My God, I've never seen that from anybody, much less a star like Jalen Hurts. I was on a Philadelphia talk show today. They are raging about Sirianni.
Really?
Sirianni, they wanted him to throw him off the plane on the way home. But they're not going to fire that coach. The coach needs to interject himself in play calling. They need to get back to do what the Eagles can do best. And if their offensive line's deficient, and it is because of injuries, then you need to run something different to help your quarterback out, not have him stand back there in the teeth of that rush trying to make plays. So you roll him or you max protect. And I think they got some other problems. They got some divas on that team. A.J. Brown may be a great player, but A.J. Brown gives up on plays, and A.J. Brown drops stuff. And
yeah.
So
What is up with these wide receiver divas? It's funny how
they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're all wide receivers. You don't really see divas in any other categories or positions on the field. It's funny how that is.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Philly if they can gather this thing. But they've lost 3 in a row now.
Well, you said in that game, there were like 5 turnovers or something. But remember, there was that one play. There were 3 turnovers in one play. Yeah. So do those count as 3?
Yes,
they do.
Yeah, there were 8 turnovers. I think it was 8 turnovers in the game, or 7 turnovers in the whole game.
Geez, I mean, a guy I think recovered a fumble, had it for like a couple of steps, and then he fumbled it, and then he's probably going to get a ding on his report card.
No, he's trying to make a play.
He's trying to make a play, but I just think about when he goes into contract. Actually, I think that guy was Jalen Hurts, and when he goes in for the contract, they're going to say, "Oh, well, you had all these fumbles." You're like, "Well, one of them, I only had it for like 2
going
steps."
into that game, though, I think Jalen Hurts had 19 touchdowns and only 4 turnovers the whole season. He turned it over 5 times in one night.
Yeah, he's regressing.
Well, the people around him are regressing.
Yeah.
That's a big issue. Okay, move on.
Okay, we'll move on. Let's talk some Dodgers ball. And this is from Ball 7906. Hey, Lee, this comment, this is an old one. This is from when you were saying the Dodgers were on the brink of collapse in the summertime. Just like all your Dodger comments did not age well, you've been criticizing them for 2 years. You've even made the ridiculous statements at various times that the Padres are the better team. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are back-to-back champions. Please stick to football and San Diego sports.
Sorry, don't agree with you. I deal with whatever the story is the week we're doing the podcast. When the Dodgers were at the epicenter of all the surgeries to pitching staffs, they had more than anybody. I was the one that made the comment, the Dodger way no longer works. You're doing something really wrong with all these pitchers who are having these elbow surgeries and being gone. So that's where we were that week. Now, you take that as being a lifetime criticism of the Dodgers? Hell no. I'm a big Dave Roberts fan. I have such respect for Freddie Freeman, the person. Mookie Betts, a superstar personality. Come on. What I say right now is the Dodgers, $405 million payroll. They're not doing anything illegal. Like Andrew Friedman says, why do I have to apologize for having the best farm system in baseball? I'm not. Why should I apologize for having a checking account that is unlimited because of the resources we have with the fans that support us? So I deal with the Dodgers on different stories with different opinions over the course of these weeks of doing this podcast. Just because I say one time something you disagree with, I'm not a Dodger hater. Come on now. Hell, I wore the Dodger hoodie. Do you know how much crap I took on this podcast? And on the aisles at Vons doing grocery shopping, where I wore the Dodger hoodie that day, people stopped me and said, "Why are you doing that?" I like the logo. It's the old Brooklyn Dodger logo. I was a kid growing up. I went to Ebbets Field to see my first game in Brooklyn Dodgers.
That Brooklyn, that goes back.
Yeah, it goes back. That's a few home run balls ago. But so no, ball. I'm not a hater. I'm dealing with that topic on that given week on this podcast. Next week, we'll be talking about something else.
There was a moment there, maybe 48 hours, where the Padres were in first place in the summertime, in August maybe. And that's when, the Dodgers, they were sliding.
We went from 9.5 up to a half game ahead of the Padres, and the Padres died.
Yeah, well, I remember it was just the Dodger bullpen. I mean, they'd roll out Tanner Scott or who's the other guy who's been around there for a while that throws well? Can't remember his name. Trinan, Blake Trinan, yeah. And they just they were throwing gas on the fire.
And 2 years ago, we were doing this podcast, and the Padres were up on the Dodgers 2-1 in that playoff series.
Oh, don't
and the Dodgers had to announce bullpen day. I said, this sucker is over. And then the Dodgers won it on a bullpen day. And I went on the next podcast, and I said, you know why they won? Because their analytics people at Dodger Stadium outthought these analytics people at Petco Park. I was in a bar in upstate New York when this was happening, watching it with a bunch of bikers. And I said, my God, they're bringing in their closer in the third inning. Was it Kopech? I can't recall. I said, they're bringing in their closer in the third. Why the hell are they doing it? And what it was they were matching right-handers versus the Padre batting order that inning. Next inning, they bring a left-hander in. They outthought them. Now, was I being negative towards the Dodgers, or was I being complimentary towards the Dodgers? Because they outthought the Padres in terms of bullpen days. So, again, we deal with the stories. One day it's this, next podcast it's that. A week from now, it might be something different. We just tell you what we think because we know.
Hacksaw at a biker bar.
Yeah, it's great.
Hacksaw with the Cam Newton outfit.
No, not a Cam Newton out. And then the guy found out who I was and what I did for my career. And he went and told his friends. He came back and said, look at this. This guy is on the radio and on the West Coast. He brought up my website and he's showing the barmaid. And it was really funny.
Lee, we're right at 2 hours. We got to wrap this up.
Hey, we thank you for being with us. Podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. We'll be back Monday. Hope you'll join us at 1:30. John, have a great sports weekend.
You too, Lee.
And have a great sports weekend. Thanks for being part of Hacksaw's Headlines.